Gloria, at the festival, you worked for the Independent Research Service.
That's right.
Well, exactly when did your own association with the CIA start, and in what fashion? Did they come to you, or did you go to them?
In 1958, when I came home from India, I discussed with student leaders, past and present, many of them active with the National Student Association, this kind of small foundation to encourage Americans to go. They thought it was a good idea, too. I was then told by foundations and professors and friends that I should not do this, that I would get in trouble with the House Un-American Activities Committee, the American Legion, all of those 50s people. And I became convinced that it was impossible. It was at that point that the student leaders said to me that they had in the past received funds for international programs from the CIA, and that they felt that this was important and could also be partly funded by the CIA.
Well, I mean, did you feel that you really tried? I mean, did you go around to all of the wealthy private foundations, wealthy private people, and explain your point of view, and explain why you felt it was important that the United States be represented at these things in a certain way? What did they tell you?
They told me that, well, the Ford Foundation, for instance, told me that they thought we were too liberal and too controversial, and that we would endanger their cultural programs in Austria. I mean, the first festival was being held in Vienna. It was not encouraging at all, and the private individuals to whom I went often had particular points of view to put forward, which would have been much, much more restricting than the CIA funds were, which were free. I mean, no one was told what to say.
What do you mean they were free? You mean to say it was easier for you to work for the CIA than a private organization?
That's right. And the reason I think that comes as a surprise, as it did to me at the time. I mean, I had the conventional liberals' view of the CIA as a right-wing incendiary group, and I was amazed to discover that this was far from the case, that they were enlightened, liberal, nonpartisan activists of the sort who characterized the Kennedy administration, for instance.
You have not been working now for the CIA since 1962. You still criticize. You were down recently in Washington?
Yes, when the story broke that I had once been, that I have for 4 years been a Central Intelligence agent, I was demonstrating outside the Pentagon underneath Mr. McNamara's office against bombing in Vietnam. And this didn't precisely fit with the image of a CIA agent, but then neither does the CIA.
Hello, ladies and gents. Welcome to another episode. So, in this episode, it's just pretty much a reminder of who helped to push feminism. It's the U.S. government through the CIA. The CIA helped push a movement that led to the destruction of men and families. And honestly, to the destruction of women, too, whether they like to admit it or not. But it leads into a thought. You know, government is supposed to be here in order to help maintain the large infrastructure, to maintain the military, and to deal with, you know, interactions with other countries. The government was never meant to be this deep into our society and into the politics and into the communities. And because the government has pushed so much on that particular ideologue, it led to another push. How interesting.
There are still so many young people here in Ohio and all across America struggling to picture a future, kicked out of their homes, subject to vile practice of conversion therapy. That's why the Biden Foundation created an initiative called As You Are, promoting understanding and acceptance for the safety of LGBTQ youth. This is literally a matter of life and death for so many young people. A 2017 study found that 47% of LGBTQ youth had considered suicide and 23% attempted it. I don't have to tell you how hard it is for these kids, because many of you were these kids. You remember the sleepless nights, the tear in your heart when you first spoke your truth. Coach, I'm gay. Mom, I'm transgender. Even today, how many of you still look down the street who's watching before you give your partner steal a kiss from them? I suspect many of you have become strong as you are today with the support of those who offered help along the way. Sounds silly, but the teacher who looked out for you in the classroom, the faith leader who reminded you that we're all born and created in God's image, the chosen family who filled the void when your biological family wasn't there. That's who I believe we are. And that is the soul of America. This is our real moral obligation. These are not somebody else's children. They're all our children. These children are the kite strings that lift our national ambitions aloft, and how we treat them is the measure of what kind of decency and honor we have as a society.
How very interesting is it that first you had the U.S. government pay Gloria Steinem, a well-known feminist leader, to push her ideologue, which led to the destruction of the nuclear family, the breaking down of men, and the separation of children from their mothers. And if you don't want to say that there wasn't a separation between children and mothers, well, when women have to start going to work, they are not able to stay home and educate their children or spend time with their children. Therefore, their children are watched by the state through daycares and public school. They removed fathers from the picture. They sent women to work, which then separated the children from their mothers. And now we have the US government pushing the LGBTQ agenda. And it's being pushed in the schools. Fathers out of the picture. Mothers too busy at work. The children are being educated by the state through the school systems and indoctrinated with a very destructive ideology that leads them to mutilate themselves and live in a constant state of mental illness. The US government had the CIA push feminism, and now the US government is pushing the Skittle Mafia's agenda. And it looks to me like it was all stepping stones along the way to get the parents away from the children so the children could be destroyed. I know that there's no way that I can be the only person who sees the connection on this. They were after the children all along. It just took several generations of feeding bullshit into the minds of people before they could get there. And so I suppose the question here is, what do you do when your government has been infiltrated by an enemy force that is using psychological warfare to destroy your society? leave comments down below. And until next time, have a nice day.